You know what? It seems like every time someone gives a Dharma talk, the first thing that we say is how delicious it is to see one another's faces on Zoom. I think so many of us, live kind of a lonely life these days, even though things are supposed to be settling down a bit. It's, I miss you all so much. And those of you I don't know very well, too, I've come to know through Zoom. And I love seeing your faces. So good morning. I hope you're well. You know, I think this online Zoom is really working for us. We come together to practice in this virtual space, and we do support one another. And in doing that, it's kind of like we're embodying the basic Buddhist concept, the fundamental Buddhist wisdom that we're all interconnected, interwoven, mutually supporting reality. And that is what life is. You know, at this time in history, we've begun to acknowledge those aspects that have been left out of the telling these days. I can imagine 100 years from now, there'll be some very interesting things that will have been left out of the telling and that we think is the true story. But, you know, when I look here, I recognize some of you from many different places. And I do think that we can acknowledge some of the people that lived where we're living before we came, our peoples came. People who migrated to New York, to California, to Florida, several millennia ago. The Lenape here in New York, the Pensacola in Florida, the Mojave, among many others in California. All over this continent, people who lived here before the settler Europeans arrived. And yet, you know, I was so excited. I wonder if you heard of the new discoveries of human footprints that drastically predate the time we think humans came to this continent. I mean, I think the news just came out last week. They indicated that there were people here 23,000 years ago. Well before the Ice Age, before those glaciers melted. Imagine that. I mean, this whole story that we had is different now. So much to discover and appreciate about our common humanity, and the curious way that we humans separate from each other, as we see in this place where I live, in this country that I live in these days, which causes so much suffering and pain. And of course, you could say that we're also separating from our greatest home, this very earth. And how that separation is what has damaged this earth, this planet, and its climate. To only take from the earth and not give back is a crime that we must atone for. And if you look at all the major spiritual traditions, there's always the admonition not to do that, not to just take, but to give back. We have so much to learn from the indigenous traditions, where there are many beautiful ways of offering back to the earth, making offerings and ceremonies that remind humans of their interconnection with all of creation. So many of the major spiritual traditions seem to have forgotten that aspect. And so that's why we often turn to the indigenous for help, for guidance in that area. And, you know, today there is such separation, such lack of atonement and awareness of the illness and suffering that our greed produces. It's as if we're separate from all it is. And, you know, the Buddhist tradition, of course, we say greed, anger, and ignorance are the sources that create our suffering. And I have to recognize that those poisons are also active in me. When I grasp, when I seek to punish, and when I fail to recognize my interconnection with all of the thing, the whole mess, not just those who think the way I do. So, of course, the question and what I'm supposed to do today is offer some kind of path of peace in the midst of this suffering. What does the Zen tradition offer? What can it teach us to have strength on the path? Through our Zazen, what does our Zen meditation practice offer us? Let me offer the teachings of Hakuin, the 17th century Japanese Zen master, who wrote in this beautiful poem I want you to look up, the Song of Zazen. In that verse, he wrote, "All beings by nature are Buddha, as ice by nature is water. Apart from water, there is no ice. Apart from beings, no Buddha. How sad that people ignore the near and search for the truth afar. All beings by nature are Buddha." Can you hear that? All beings. Might that include you? As ice by nature is water. One form, another. Apart from water, there's no ice. Apart from beings, no Buddha. How sad that people ignore the near and search for the far. So what is that near that Hakuin is pointing to? Isn't it here in our own bodies and minds? Isn't it realizing what that concluding line says? This very body, the Buddha. This very body. Your very body. I see someone rolling their eyes here on the screen. My body. Each of us right now in the body that we inhabit is the Buddha, is the enlightened, awakened nature of the universe. This very body. How to realize that, how to recognize that even for a moment. You know, I take a lot of instruction from this old guy from 13th century Japan, Dogen, who wrote in a fascicle he wrote called Body and Mind Study of the Way, which gives you a hint. He says, to study the way with the body means to study the way with your own body. It is the study of the way using this lump of red flesh. The body comes forth from the study of the way. Everything which comes forth from the study of the way is the true human body. The entire world of the 10 directions is nothing but the true human body. The coming and going of birth and death is the true human body. The key line for me here is to study the way with the body means to study the way with your own body. You know, take it out of the abstract. Take it out of your joy and poetry and study your own body, is his counsel. The body comes forth from the study of the way, from our practice. Our Zazen practice isn't like a mental thing. We sit with our whole bodies. When we don't have our bodies anymore, I don't think we sit anymore. It is our bodies themselves that are leading us, guiding us. The entire world of the 10 directions is nothing but the true human body. The coming and going of birth and death is the true human body. Both Dogen and Hakuin are bringing us back to this moment. Not an abstract idea, but this body, this moment. Take a moment right now and just breathe in. Feel the air entering your nose, your mouth, your lungs. Feel your tongue against your teeth. Feel the movement of your chest and your belly. This is your body. This is the body where you live. This body is the actor that serves you. This body is what serves the entire world. And it is this body that creates well-being within and without itself. As we say over and over again, this very body is Buddha. And yet somehow we mistreat the body, forget the body, neglect the body, while we concentrate on words or ideas or fleeting images. You know, oh, the body, it's completely forgotten. How is it that we forget our bodies? Listen to this wisdom by W.S. Merwin in a poem entitled, "To Myself." Even when I forget you, I go on looking for you. I believe I would know you. I keep remembering you, sometimes long ago, but then other times I'm sure you were here a moment before, and the air is still alive around where you were, and I think then I can recognize you, who are always the same, who pretend to be time, but you are not time, and who speak in the words, but you are not what they say, you who are not lost when I do not find you. A little complex. I'm going to read it again. Just try and relax and listen to he's talking to himself. And what I'm suggesting is this is the way we are in relation to our bodies. to myself. Even when I forget you, I go on looking for you. I believe I would know you. I keep remembering you, sometimes long ago. But then other times I'm sure you were here a moment before, and the air is still alive around where you were. And I think then I can recognize you, who are always the same, who pretend to be time, but you're not time, and who speak in the words, but you are not what they say. You who are not lost when I do not find you. Merwin teaches that we look for ourselves outside of our bodies, outside of our own being, outside of ourselves. It's so strange, isn't it? We get caught up in the idea, the notion of our true self, how we might be happy someday, might be of service somehow, be true in some way, as we fail to see this wondrous autumn light, the last migrating birds, the leaf falling. These are also who we are. Can we not appreciate ourselves, our small body, our great body? Here's a story about Shangu, who was a poet who sincerely sought the way in 12th century China. But like us, like so many of us, and I include myself in that, he often sought the way outside of what was actually happening in his life, what was actually present in the moment. You know, we get caught in the beauty of words, the elegance of a brushstroke, sight of a bird in flight, and we forget that it is all who we are. So here's the story of Shangu. One day, the poet Shangu was visiting teacher Weitong, and Weitong said, "You know the passage where Confucius says, 'My friends, do you think I'm hiding things from you? In fact, I'm hiding nothing from you.' It's just the same with the great matter of Zen. Do you understand this?" So that's what Weitong said to Shangu. Do you think I'm hiding things from you? It's the same with the great matter of Zen. Do you understand this? Shangu said, "No, I don't get it. I don't know what you're saying. It just sounds abstract to me." And later that day, they were walking in the mountains, and suddenly the air seemed filled with the aroma of sweet olive blossoms. And Weitong turned to Shangu and said, "Do you smell the fragrance of these blossoms?" And Shangu said, "Yeah, I do." And Weitong said, "See, I'm hiding nothing from you." And at that moment, it said that Shangu was truly enlightened. Could it be so simple? The autumn leaf turning as it falls. Yesterday, I was sitting in the park downstairs here and with my son, and we were watching the leaves fall. You could just sit there and see the leaves. You just sat quietly. You'd see them just part from the tree and begin to turn and fall. The subtle shift of the weather, This last sounds of the warblers as they head south. Yeah, and the traffic on the street. Have you noticed all the workers? I mean, I don't know. It seems like the whole city is being rebuilt during this time. I don't know where the money is coming from, but everywhere I go, there's so much banging and clanging and sawing and hammering. It's our life as it is. Whose body hears it? Whose body sees it? Whose body receives it? Whose body maintains it? What was enlightened when Shangu was able to appreciate the aroma of the olive blossoms? Was it his mind? Was it his body? What was hidden? What was not hidden? Isn't it all just this very body that is the Buddha, that is the receptor and the giver? Let's not get caught in the dream, but rather embody the real in our lives, in our practice. Embody and take it in, literally. Incorporate the world around us into our own being. Our feelings, our thoughts, our connection to all that is. And let's pay homage to our bodies, however strong or frail they may be, however old or young, and recognize that this very body is what carries our Buddha nature. This one. Wake up. This is your life. This is your body. This is your Buddha. This is what is interconnected with everything, everywhere. Now, naturally, I thought about talking about the body today because later today, our executive director, Howard Thorson, is going to be giving a workshop on the body. He is also a master Feldenkrais practitioner. So it should be a very easeful and opportunity for us to really zone in on the wisdom that we have. We can get I know I've turned into a pair of eyes that's always looking at my phone and forget, it's not just these pair of eyes on a stick, but actually there's a whole body here that is acting, is alive, and is the embodiment of what we seek in Zen, the embodiment of insight, of wisdom, of realization, of our connection. It is our body. And we thought of this particular series as a kind of remedy for the kind of distancing of the body that we experience through Zoom. So I'm hoping that you'll join in either today's or the ones in the next couple of months. Pay attention to the wisdom of your body. Treat it well. It is the vehicle of your enlightenment. Here's my gatha to encourage you. Oh, I'm almost 1 minute. I got 32 seconds. This very body, they say, is the Buddha. Can I celebrate and then look around at the work that needs to be done to care for all the bodies and this great earth?